So why am I doing this? I'm starting this podcast because we all have a story and finances play a part in our struggles and successes. If we can learn from the many mistakes many others have made, we can make sure that more of us are successful. Like the quote says, to increase the chances of success, we must increase our failure rate. To be honest, I failed a ton. I will bring people from all walks of life, but mostly service members. If you have a story you would like to share, do not hesitate to reach out. From the go, like and subscribe to this podcast so many others can benefit. Today we have Candace Whittaker, a former 170 Alpha in the Army, which is cyberspace operations technician. Now she's in the finance space and overall a badass. I went through my list of badass women and it was like Candace Whittaker all the way to tippity top. How you doing, Candace?
Hi, thank you.
No, thank you for your time. I know you're really busy now, post-military, wife, mother, financial, expert in the financial industry. How do you make it all happen?
So I start with a glass of sanity in the morning, and then I pull my hair out a little bit and then slick it back. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Literally balance. Trying to stay balanced is an ongoing thing, but it works. It works.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that it helps that you have a badass of a husband that a man that I look up to. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he is very awesome. Most people find it kind of hard to do everything in life with their spouse, but we both work from home together, and it works. Sometimes we work out together. That doesn't really work.
No.
But when it comes to our family and just everything that we do it together. So we give and take and definitely support each other. So he's definitely a great partner in life.
That's huge. And you and I have taken similar paths in the family, fitness, finance, it's faith is all one thing, and being able to put it all together is huge. So tell us about your military career for starters. I know that I don't know much about the cyberspace, but what can you share about your military career, your experience in the time, and how many years did you do for starters?
So I did 21. Never planned to do the whole stint. I mean, I guess I'll just tell my story, right, for the military.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
In high school, I got a scholarship I'm from Houston, Texas. And if you're a Texan, you either go to A&M or you go to UT, right? Mm-hmm. And so I decided that I wanted to go to Texas A&M because I did a site visit with the Black fraternities and sororities. And I went there and I was like, oh my God, this is for me. I'm going to Texas A&M, forget those Longhorns, this is for me. And I got home and I asked my dad, I'm like, are you going to pay for me to go to college like all my friends? And he was like, girl, you better get a loan. And I was like, and I was shocked, but for real, I was so hurt that I was pissed. I was mad because all these years of busting my ass in high school, getting straight A's. I was an athlete. I was in all these honor societies. I did everything that he told me to do. And I didn't get a scholarship. And so I just assumed he was going to pay for me. And when he said he wasn't going to pay for me, well, I was like, well, forget you. I'm out. And honestly, in my immaturity, I didn't know what I was doing. But I just knew that I wanted to rebel, buck the system and just shock him. And I was like, you know what? I'm joining the Army. And he was like, you won't ever make it. And so then I purposed in my heart, I have to make it because you don't believe in me. And literally, that's if you want to motivate me, just tell me that I can't do something and I will try to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
And so joined and I was like, I just got to get out of Houston. Ended up in Maryland. And at that time, when I joined, I did Intel, which is pretty cool. But I was like, I'm just going to do one tour and then I'll get out. And then I re-enlisted and I was like, oh, just one more. And then one more turned into 9 years. And I was like, you know what? All right, I'm finally going to get out. And this was after I deployed to Iraq. I realized I wasn't a boots on the ground type soldier like yourself. Yep. I was like, I'm good from the rear.
It's great.
And then that's when I met Mike. I was actually on terminal leave, and I was like, you know what, Uncle Sam, I'm good. I did my time. And Mike actually convinced me to stay in. And I really, I'm telling you, I wasn't interested. But I made the 7 list. my second look, and I was so mad at the Army. Like, you just want me to make 7 because you know I'm getting out.
Yeah.
And Mike
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, no, they don't, it doesn't work like that. You know, I'm a military brat. I know how this works. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm not interested, but I am interested in you. And ended up re-enlisting.
Right.
And we ended up getting married. And then we actually both crossed over to be warrant officers together. He
Wow.
got out. Yeah, that was crazy. That was like the best, worst experience. I don't recommend that, going to
There you go.
school as newlyweds because you get picked on. Yep. And then as an officer, a warrant officer, I eventually transitioned to cyber.
Right.
Loved it, but then it was time to make more money.
Right. So how fast did you get looked at, you got selected for 7 and how many years?
It was between 7 and 8 years.
That's
I
still
wasn't
pretty
as
fast.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was like 8 because like I was up at 7 because I was like really trying. In the Army, it's really big to make 7 and 7. Like if you're
Right.
high speed, and I didn't make it at 7, and I was really mad because I had a couple friends that hadn't deployed, and this was like 7 years for me was right in the height of like if you hadn't deployed, you weren't getting promoted, and so I had a couple
Right.
friends that hadn't got deployed, they didn't have a degree. Like I did all the things the Army said do, and they got promoted and I didn't. I was like,
What?
oh my God. Like, like they didn't even deploy. Like seriously.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
that's so crazy with the military, right? We think that we're doing the right things and not that it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's whatever, right?
Yes.
We get surprised with certain things, but clearly maybe that was for a reason. Maybe you would have never met Mike, become a warrant,
100%.
Yeah.
100% agree with that. I mean,
Which is,
go for it.
yeah, which is huge, right? Clearly having this man next to you has been key for the every year then or after,
Literally. I mean, had I made 7, in 7, I wouldn't have been in my duty station, which is where I met Mike. Mike and I met in the DC area. I was in Virginia and he was in Maryland. And so talking about being in the position for opportunity, if I would have made 7, they would have sent me wherever they needed a senior leader to go. And then also too, I don't think I would have been open to him because like the way that I grew up, I grew up around dream killers and like not intentional dream killers, just that nobody ever told my parents that they could be great things. And so of course in turn, because they never thought they never knew their potential. They didn't teach me how to tap into my potential,
Wow.
Like I remember one of my dreams that I go back to, is like I remember the first time I saw Whitney Houston sing, it was a music video and it was, oh, I want to dance with somebody.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like I want to be a singer just like her. And I remember telling my dad that, and he was like, no way. And I was like, you know what I mean? Like my
Yeah.
heart just crumbled into pieces. And I
Yeah.
grew up around that. And it wasn't like he was trying to shatter my dreams. It wasn't a realistic dream. So if it's not realistic, then to him, it wasn't attainable. So I think more so he didn't want to set me up for disappointment, but you can never hope without that being a contending factor,
Right. And as you and I have talked a lot in our circles, that you got to dream huge. And clearly, you keep going back to your dad. Was he ever supportive of the military after you joined?
Yeah, after.
That's good.
Like during my first tour, he was kind of like, girl, I ain't know how you was going to make it because I was very ill-disciplined.
You and me both.
I'm not proud of it, but since I'm being transparent. And I did almost get kicked out my first tour, but look, you can do 180s.
Yeah.
But he was proud of me. Even when I retired, he was just beaming with joy, like, so
Yeah, that's awesome.
that was always rewarding.
With the family and clearly your father, because like I like saying is that our parents always did the best they could. Your
Yes.
dad probably meant very well with his dream killing, right? That's what he meant well by that. So, and I always ask this to people because I'm curious about the finance scripts. Like, what are things financially that your father or mother or your environment were saying that led you to be a certain way or think a certain way? You know how people say money doesn't grow on trees or the rich are evil. Did your parents have anything, or your environment had anything like that?
So my parents weren't really against money, but money was not like, I grew up in like this, right? So I am born and raised in Houston. However, my parents met in college. Well, they actually grew up together. My mom and
Okay.
my aunts were like girls, and they was like, "Oh, you should date my brother." And they dated off and on, had me, and then my mom left Houston and went back to St. Louis. And when we lived in St.
Okay.
Louis, we lived in the hood. Like, let's just put it like
Okay.
that. It wasn't the
Okay.
best, so you know how that is, right? No,
I get it.
on that path.
I get it.
And then around 8, we moved to Houston, and I didn't really know what that was going to be like because I just didn't know. Like, coming from the hood, like, I just assumed that everybody's going to be black. So Houston is very diverse. And so I remember the first day of school, I'm like, what is that? It's like white people in my class, and they're nice to me because I wasn't raised like that, just really different dynamics. But that's when I also got introduced to the suburbs, right? So like we always had nice things, had a nice place. I remember when we bought our first house, that was big for my dad because his parents didn't own their home and things like that. So I got introduced to some positive things financially, but at the same time, very negative things that I wanted to change for myself and my generation. So like my parents lived on credit.
Oh.
I have mixed feelings about credit, but but we never had enough. So my dad worked, but my mom stayed at home, and we never had more than enough. We had enough, my dad had enough to pay the bills, but taking all those advanced college classes in high school, like I couldn't afford to get college credit because my dad couldn't afford $50 for the exams. I had to study it for the SATs on my own because he didn't want to pay for me to take courses because we couldn't afford it. I played basketball, and like in the summer, the best time to improve your game in any sport is during the off season. I couldn't play travel ball. I couldn't do anything that cost money because we never had money. And and like when my dad wouldn't pay for me or even help me figure out a way to afford college besides loans, I just knew, like, you know what? I'm never going to be broke, and I'm never going to just make it to where my kids can't do things that support them. I mean, even if, like, our kids do sports, and even if they never become professional athletes, you get so much character development from sports and extracurricular that it makes the money worth it. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm never going to be broke, and I'm never going to be regular middle class. Like if I'm not gonna make it all the way, like I gotta be like upper middle class or something,
Right.
Yeah.
And it sounds like I've said it in other podcasts that we become who we are not only because of our parents, but in spite of. So your parents inadvertently, like, denying you those certain things led you to be the person you are, which is, incredible, right? And now we can look back and say, thanks, Dad, right? That was crucial because we don't know what other path we would have taken, right?
Yes. And when I look at my dad and I look at the things that he's accomplished, because now that we're living in Houston, I see him more regularly, and I just kind of look and I smile and I'm like, well, I'm a lot like him. But when I think about him and he tells me about my grandparents, I mean, he did so much with his generation, like that they didn't do, because I mean, even before, I would say before Mike and I moved home, he was the most affluent person in our family, the most financially successful person in our family. And then me and Mike haven't moved here. And then my cousin, he's a professional athlete. So of course he's going to be, affluent.
Yeah.
We challenged
whatever.
him. Right. But we challenge him. But I look at him, I'm like, you know what? He gave me a good launching pad, even though there were some things I wanted to change. But my hope is that I can continue to pay that forward. So like, hopefully all that Mike and I establish, our kids will be like, oh yeah, I can launch from there.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it's good that that challenge, right? And now you can live up to it and be, compete even with a professional athlete, right?
Right.
Which is super awesome. Super awesome. It's funny you were talking about the hood, right? So for me, I came from South America.
Very
And
cool.
I was raised, South America is interesting because we are not as inclusive as people are here.
Okay.
But when I came here, I showed up to a school and it was like 40% Black, 40% Hispanic, and a few others. And I remember I was like overnight from South America to a school that was like in the suburbs right next to the hood. And it was just like, it just became who I was.
Nice.
Then I joined the military and I'm like, oh, you white kids are not used to the Black kids. This is really weird.
Right.
And
It's
it took
weird.
time. Right.
Yes.
But then obviously it takes like 20 minutes and then all of a sudden, like we're all green, right? That joke is
Yes.
like, it becomes so true.
Yes.
Like,
Especially on deployment. Oh my gosh.
Right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's hilarious,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, and it's cool because, one of the reasons that I wanted to highlight you is because I really want to highlight how we all can be successful, right? It's so important because, and I'll say it to anybody, it's not only about who Candace is, but it's like who thinks Candace looks like them,
Big facts.
right? That to me
Big
is important
facts.
because right now there's young people that are like, man, I'm gonna get out of the army. The army sucks. I was like, yeah, it sucks right now, but look what you can achieve.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And
You don't have to be a pro athlete to be equally successful.
yes, yes. And like literally, so when Mike and I are very, very blessed financially. So like I said, I retired from the military and Mike did not retire, but we have very nice jobs post-military. And so like the neighborhood that we live in, it's funny because, well, one, there's not a lot of people that look like us in our neighborhood. And if they are brown, they're Indian. And so it's funny because when we see each other, we're like, hey, let's do dinner. Yes.
Yes.
Right. But
Yeah.
all the neighbors thought Mike was a professional athlete because they were trying to figure out how we could afford the house. And they were like, oh, so what do you do? And when he told them consulting, they were like, huh. Like I didn't see that coming. We're like, yeah.
Yeah. Which is important, right? How can I say? I'm not going to sit here that it's all about inclusivity, but there's a point, there's that fine line that like, we can all achieve this.
Yes.
This is the beauty of America.
Yes.
That the brown guys that are Indian Sikhs can come and crush it. And you and I know this Indian guy in Canada making just a humble $12 million a year.
Yes.
Anybody can do it, right?
Yes.
Or that guy that
Passively.
passively, right? Or that guy that just came from Africa making $5 million. Oh, sorry, what is he making? $5 million a year, right?
Something like
So
that.
he's crushing it. Now it's really close. I'm gonna pause it real quick. There we go.
There you go. You're back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
yes, I think that's
totally
important.
doable.
Yeah, I think that's important because a lot of times, when you have big dreams, even when you have big dreams and you believe that they're possible and obtainable, sometimes it helps to see somebody that look like you, right? Sometimes it helps to see somebody that may not look like you, but they sound like you. Like when I was thinking about Amy, remember Amy from Denver, the guest?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Amy
Like,
Purdy, the lady that lost her leg. So
Yes.
for everybody, this lady lost her legs due to a health condition and is the first woman to win the snowboarding Olympics without both legs. Paralympian, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Badass.
So she doesn't look like me. Okay. She's white woman, straight hair. Mine is not close to straight. Like we don't look, by outer appearances, we are polar opposites. But when I tell you her conversation reminds me of things that I can be and I hope to be, like,
Oh, yeah.
And I think that
yeah.
helps, because sometimes like everybody I think goes through it. Like when you have big dreams, first of all, your dreams should be so big that they are intimidating, right? Because when you really think about it, success is too big of a thing for one person to accomplish alone.
Oof. That's why you have Mike.
That's why I got Mike. That's why I have you. I mean, that's why I love when we get together because it's literally like iron sharpening iron. I'm getting back sharp. Maybe a little sparks might fly, but they're good because they're building character. They're building personality strength, emotional intelligence. And every now and then, as you're pursuing your dreams, it helps to see somebody that like tangible. You're like, all right, cool, because it invigorates you. It keeps you on fire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I'm bringing this up because we both know, I'm an immigrant, Hispanic guy. You're a Black woman. Diversity and inclusion, it's so weird. It's like, why are we even talking about this? Just let me be a performer, right? Just don't bring me out for what I am and let me perform, right?
Right.
But now it's like a fact, and now it's a thing, and I'm like, I don't want ever to make it a thing, but I want to highlight the people that are awesome in what they do, right? And I'll continue to do it, right? I have this platform that I want to show all the young men and women in the military that you can go and achieve literally whatever you want, right?
Big facts.
So this is so awesome to have you here. But let's get to a little bit about some of the finance things, because I know you're in the financial space right now and you're doing awesome things. So what is the best and worst financial advice you ever got?
Well, the best advice I ever got was indexing strategies, right?
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So like I said, Mike and I are pretty blessed financially. We're not where we want to be.
Right.
Let's just state that for the record. There's always room for improvement. We had no idea about indexing strategies, especially like moving here and living the life that we live. We were like, okay, you know how some people look forward to getting their taxes back?
Yeah.
When we ain't got taxes back in a long time. So,
Whoa.
Mike, we pay taxes, which is a good thing.
You see with the bragging.
I mean, but I'm just saying, it's annoying. Like, I wish I got a tax return. And so this time last year, Mike and I were just like, oh, God, we got to figure out something to protect us. Like, because we pay too much in taxes. And it is so frustrating. And then we learned about indexing. And it just blew my mind. And I'll tell you why it blew my mind. I'm not bragging, but this is to show you how it blew my mind.
Oh, brag. Go ahead. Knock yourself up.
I have an undergrad in business administration, and then I have an MBA with a concentration in accounting. That's what that is right there. Right?
Wow. Okay.
I studied accounting. I'm a certified bookkeeper, like all these things, and nobody ever told me about indexing. So like when I learned about it, I was like, what do you mean a floor and a cap? Like everybody needs to know, you know? So that's like the best advice. I really won't say much for like a worst advice, but I will tell you the best advice that I didn't take, because that's almost like the worst advice.
Okay.
Remember, when did you join the military?
04.
Okay, so you weren't in yet. So I joined in 99, and I remember when the government made TSP available for the military. I remember our sergeant major, I was a little PFC. I thought I was just hot stuff, right?
Right.
I remember our sergeant major calling us all in and was like, let me tell y'all something. I mean, he was real like one of those sergeant majors, you know?
Direct, yeah.
You soldiers need to invest in this, put your money away. I'm about to retire, and if this is available for me, just put $100 away a month. And by the time you retire, it'll be, you won't regret it.
Right.
I was like, I ain't putting $100 away. I'm going to the club. Like, it was, but when I think about if I would have took that advice, because my friend took exactly. So that's along the same lines, worst advice. My friend took that advice. And to this day, I think she just retired in December. Her 401k is 6 figures, right? So imagine getting out, having a 6-figure 401k that I could roll over into something that I won't have any losses, you know. So that's definitely like counts as worth it, but I didn't take it.
That's huge, right? It's huge.
Yes.
Because you and I see it all the time. People with TSP, and they're like, you know, I don't trust the government. I was like, I'm not saying you have to trust them, but this is a good thing. This is a really good thing. Just do it, especially now with BRS.
Yes.
It's out of control.
Yes.
And I need to share the TSP calc thing that I figured out. It's awesome. I'll share with you guys. So it's crazy you talk about indexing strategies, because when I heard about him, I was like, this is not real. Impossible. Mind blown. And I'm like, now I'm trying to like shuffle all my money. It's like, how can I get more money in there?
Yes.
With that, did you guys get a tax return this year, or you still pay taxes?
We still pay.
Damn.
But that's in progress. So like part of the reason too why we pay as a disabled vet, we don't pay property taxes, and property taxes are, you know, good tax write-off. But when you don't have any, that does kind of suck a little bit. But it's a work in progress.
You see, and now I was just listening to a podcast about Roth conversions, going from traditional to Roth, and they were talking about the downsides of it. And I had never heard of the downside to not having a property tax. That's a huge downside. And again, and what I'll tell people is that I'm not saying don't go get fully disabled, but at the same time,
Right.
there's certain things that is going to affect other aspects of your life.
Exactly.
Nothing is purely clear cut,
Yeah.
which that is fascinating. I had never heard of that.
And it's okay though to not pay property taxes. I mean, like the tax advantage of where we live, even because like the property taxes in Texas are like through the roof, but they have like great school systems and they use the money for schooling, so it works out. But even if we would have paid property taxes, it wouldn't. We would still owe. It would have gave us a nice little discount, but yeah. I would rather pay all that taxes up front and then on the back end when I'm retired, not have to worry about paying taxes. So
totally agree, especially with with taxes going up, and every CPA we talk to says the same thing.
Oh yeah.
So with your time in the military, did you maximize the money from your reenlistments, per diem, any hazardous duty, deployments? Do you feel that you maximized it, or that was along the lines of you not listening to sergeant majors?
So, okay, I didn't listen to Sergeant Major Snyder. If you ever hear this, I'm so sorry. I'm a different person now. I'm a better soldier too.
Good.
I would say under my immature understanding of finances at the time, I maximized my bonuses. However, as a more financially mature person today, I wasted them. Like I said about my parents, they never had, we never had extra, and it seemed like they were always in debt. Like I said, we have extravagant Christmases, not knowing that my dad swiped for everything because he didn't have great Christmases. And so, but even I hated all the gifts, and so we don't really do that. But now, I'm glad that we don't do that because knowing that he swiped to make it happen. So my focus up until, I would say, even in the past 2 years, has always been get out of debt, never be in debt, never be in debt. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
But just like anything in life, when you don't have a proper balance, then it's not going to be good, no matter what it is. And so whenever I got money, I was trying to get out of debt. So every bonus that I ever got, and I got a bonus every time I reenlisted, the benefit of being military intelligence, I didn't get them tax-free. One, I got tax-free, but I just I blew that one. It was horrible. But most of them were to pay off credit card debt or to pay off a vehicle that I had at the time. I'm yeah, that was cool, but I could have, thinking about, of course, hindsight's 2020, but if I would have put that in the TST, if I would have put that in something that had index and strategy, if I would have just did something instead of just trying to, get creditors off my back, or maybe put some, kind of balance it, I would definitely be reaping that today.
Right. And it's, going back to your dad, he sounds like an incredible man. Is he still alive? Just making sure. Still alive?
He is.
We'd love to meet the guy. He sounds awesome. He was swiping because he cared about you guys.
Big facts.
In turn, led to you, Dad, why are you buying me all this stuff? I'm going to save money.
Yes.
To now we react. It's so interesting, right? And
yes.
He did his best. Is this is what I need to do for my kids, right?
Yes.
So it's incredible. And again, for all the fathers out there, mothers, this is the balance, right? And the only way that we learn opposite is being exposing ourselves to people that are doing better or different, right? To be like somebody, now we know your dad could have done differently, whatever, right? But until it takes a long time to figure that out.
Oh yeah. So you got to make mistakes.
You have to fail more, right? Fail a ton. Yeah. And that's what I bring people on here, right? Because going back to your failures, right, and successes, I want to share what we have done wrong, right? Because now hopefully somebody listens and is oh man, she didn't put TSP. Maybe I'll start doing it, you know?
Yes.
And while I'm a big fan of 5%, if I meet a guy or girl that is putting 20, I'm great. That's awesome. Now we can do other things, right? It's a great foundation. Do you feel that the military, any military experience affected how you see finances? Or any,
I would say yes. I honestly don't think that they offer enough financial education, knowing that, like my whole first duty state, I mean, my whole first 4 years was just like, I didn't even really live paycheck to paycheck. It was like worse than that. Like I was at where you you say like, let me borrow some money, the payday loans.
Yeah.
I lived
Yeah.
by that because I did not know how to take care of my money. It was so bad. Like me and my girls, we lived like they knew us. Like, hey girl, what you doing today? Like, you know, I'm about to go to the club, I'm about to go to DC. It was horrible. Like when I think about that, and all I did was I got my paycheck, I paid my car note because I knew how to pay my car note. That's what my dad always told me. I didn't have to worry about food because I was in the barracks. I can go eat at the DFAC, you know, things like that. And I would just blow my money on clothes and in the club and underage drinking.
Did you ever get in trouble for it?
No, I never got caught. I should have got caught.
Nice.
I should have got caught. Maybe I would have learned my lesson. But
Yeah.
I say that to say, I really believe that, like, you know, even if you're not, when you first enlist into the military, I think it's so critical to get a good foundational educational, like, hey, you're getting this money. For some of you, it's going to be more money than you've ever had before. And here's some things that you can do, you know, like what you can do with your bonus, and then actually show people the numbers. Because when you see the numbers of what, you know, how money can compound, you'll change your mind real quick. I might give you that bonus and still waste that, but I'll give you something because I want that to work for me. And so I think the information is available. I know in the Army they have like you could get financial education, but that's if you wanted to get like a loan, like an AR loan or something like that.
Yep.
And when it's too late, it's not too late.
Yeah.
It is too late.
And people often think that, I'm sure it happens to you too, that people think that I'm going to say, don't go to the club or don't go buy more, whatever, guns, whatever people like.
Right.
When I tell them, it's like, keep doing it. Just grab some of that and put it elsewhere. So in your case,
Yes.
I would have easily told you, just go to the club twice a month or even 3 times a month at first. That would have been a huge difference.
Exactly. Bro, I was in the club every night except for like Mondays, because we couldn't find nothing to do on Mondays. But here's the thing. Here is how financially illiterate I was. We got into the club free a lot. I was skinnier back then. But we got into the club free a lot, and we got a lot of drinks because we were just, might have been like, you know, that's for another podcast. But where did my money go? Like, I have no accountability for that. Just dust in the wind, you know, because it goes back to like what you're saying. There's nobody saying you can't do those things. It's about that balance. And moderation.
Yeah. That's it. And it's, you know, that's what we harp on, teaching some good habits. And going back to Mike, because I realized that I need to highlight that, you know, there's a value in financial education, how it affects all of military life, right? You know, and I'll say it like we look at like veteran suicide. It's not just combat, but if I throw combat on top of a bad leader, on top of a bad relationship, on top of your mom dramas, and then I throw finance, we cannot fix all of those things, but we're trying to improve something. So in a relationship, what financial tips would you give to young service members as they go get into a marriage or a relationship with a man or a woman? What would you say is like keys to success for you and Mike?
So I would say I'm going to limit it to 3.
Okay.
2 good, 1 bad.
Okay. Good.
So I believe that because so many things, when you first get married, man, so many things are going to come at you as a couple. And sometimes it could be overwhelming. Like, we were blessed that our in-laws loved each other. They would get together without us, and we felt some kind of way. But what if your in-laws don't like each other? What if, you know, just adversity is going to come your way as soon as you get married. It's just the nature of the beast. And so what we did is we decided that we were going to start out debt-free.
Okay.
So that way, whatever debt we accumulated or whatever we did, it was like us. It wasn't like well, that's yours or that. No, I had that, you know, whatever. It was no room for divisiveness because we both started at 0. So I paid off my stuff and he paid off his stuff. It wasn't a lot back then, but it was still, we started at 0. So that would be one piece of advice, if possible. And we didn't have a big wedding. And then the second advice that I would say is pool your money. A lot of times couples don't want to pool their money. And I would just say that this is how Mike and I do it. And like literally, we've done it like this since day one. We've been together 15 years, but we've been married 14. So we dated 6 months. It was really quick. But we've literally done our money like this for almost 15 years, and it works for us. All of our paychecks come into one account. Mm-hmm. All the bills get paid from that one account. The stuff for the kids come from that account. But every paycheck, we get allowances, right? And it goes to Mike's account, and I get my allowance in my account. And so now, like, I never have to ask for, out of our allowance is big enough to cover gas, lunch. This was back when we used to go to work. Lunch, haircuts for Mike. Me too, haircuts, nails, all of that. It encompasses that. So there's not any like onesie twosies or like, or I'm like, I used to be like, why are you swiping? You know?
Yeah.
Early on, like, what is that? Or like if you try to buy a gift for a birthday, like, what you buying at Tiffany's for me? Like, or whatever, you know, like I don't have to know. But like literally having the allowances in a separate account gives us the freedom, you know, to do with our money as we see fit. And it's not like it's locked in, but it's not locked in, the amount.
If you don't mind me jumping into this, because I normally hear people that they get their paychecks separately and then they pool their money. While you guys are doing it opposite, you pool the money and then you allocate the allowance, which I had never, I don't like getting it, you know, the minutia to people, how they do the relationship, but I would actually recommend this. And it's the same end state, just doing a different step. You prioritize the relationship and then you get like, our allowance could be, I mean, let's throw a number, $2,000. You do whatever you want.
Whatever
you want to go hungry, I don't care.
Yep, exactly. And there are moments where like, so when I first got the military, you know, in the military, you can't have nails like this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm getting my nails done. And like, I ran out of gas money plenty of times trying to have my nails. And I'll be like, babe, so, can I get a little extra allowance?
Just a little bit.
He would give me a hard time for it, but it's not locked in. It's where we prefer to be. Cause even like, for groceries, like everything, like there's some things, and don't ever tell Cash I said this. Just kidding, Cash. I love you. There's some things that Dave Ramsey does that I believe are like the truth, like legit. And I will only say some things, right? Like I love the debt snowball.
Huge fan.
And Cash. So like going to the grocery store was killing us because there was no accountability. So now we live by cash only for groceries.
Oh, wow.
And it's great. It keeps us so honest.
So you see, like, I'm a huge fan of the American Express Gold because of the supermarket benefit.
Nice.
But this is why it's important, and I'll tell people this too, like psychology money and spreadsheets. Psychologically, you guys need to go with cash.
Yes.
So be it. That is important. So you said that you had one negative thing that coming into relationships. Yes. What was that?
Don't be afraid to say no, right?
Ooh.
Don't be afraid to say no. Every relationship has the one spouse, the one person that's like, well, I'm living in the edge, like this the edge. Take my picture, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's a person that's like, I'm never going to the edge, like I'll see you know, like it always turns out like that. And that's good. Those people balance each other out, right? And the same thing is with finances. And there have been a couple times, really one time that Mike wanted to take a big financial undertaking. And I was so afraid to say no because I love him. I think he's the best thing since sliced bread. And I think because nobody believed in my dreams before Mike, it's natural for me to just like, if somebody shares a dream, I'm like, yes. What you gonna do to make it happen? Like I just want to blow on that ember. Like let me just get a blow in there and I don't want no credit. I just want to see your dream flourish. Because if your dream flourishes, then like I said, a dream is supposed to be so big that, you know, it should intimidate you, but it's big enough that you can accomplish it alone, which means other people's dreams might be nestled in there. And so Mike had this big idea and I just love him so much, but I should have said no, and he would have heeded my no, but I didn't want to I didn't want to be the party pooper, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, babe, let's do it. And it sent us back $100,000 in like less than 6 months. Yes. It was, I will tell you this. it was great marriage counseling too.
Really?
It was because
Wow.
we had to work through, like, it was a lot of what we call heady fellowship, like, well, why did you do this? And you said this and da 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 da. But when you peel back all the initial, arguing, I realized that my problem was that I didn't have the personal courage to be like, babe, I don't know. And just that, babe, I don't know, would have sparked something in him to be like, well, why don't you know? Or like, what are you thinking? And then we could have had the deeper conversation about it instead of me thinking like what I thought was a supportive wife was like, yeah, babe, do it. But really what the supportive wife that he needed was like, babe, let's think about this. And so
Right.
that would be the third thing is like, don't be afraid to not necessarily say no, but have a further conversation when it comes to financial things.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense, and I think it's important to do that. I was also not very good at my relationships to say no, and I'm trying to work on it because it's my over supportive, right? But it's
Yes.
I'm getting better at it. So the next thing, and I want to highlight. So one thing I do, just so you know, I try to wear the shirt or something of a brand unit, whatever. So I'm wearing the Raiders shirt from the guys from TNR, and it's funny because it's Benji Manabog.
Nice.
Manabog made this. Which leads to my next question. How did you get started in finance?
On accident. Not on accident. Not intentional at all.
Okay.
Like I said, it was about this time last year. We were finally getting settled into Houston. Just kind of minding our business. And anyone will tell you, Mike will tell you, I'm part of the problem when it comes to our finances. I love to travel. Oh my gosh. And so around July, my sister-in-law called us and she was like, hey, I'm working on a project and I just want to show it to you so you can see what I'm working on. And I love her. Okay. Mike's sister is like, she should be my sister, really.
Okay.
And she showed me this project and I thought it was great, but not for me. I was like,
It was for Mike.
It was for Mike. And I was like, but then I was like, it's not really for him either. We're like, we're good. We're good in this comfort zone, which translates to like, I'm good, comfortable, not growing and being stagnant and all those negative things. But whatever, I'm good in my comfort zone. And then we thought about it. We were like, let's just see. And we thought about it. And it just, for us, what caused us to get into it and just to be like, yes, and just be all in was that we knew the information that we learned is not available for everybody. And that kind of became like a cross we chose to pick up because we have a heart for people and we have a heart to see people like not make the same mistakes we made. And then just to change generational trajectory. Like, that's big for us, especially, and finances can do that.
They can. That, and I in many ways is the only way, right? Like you're not going to do it through, like in a way, we'll talk about Marshall Falk, right? It wasn't football that changed his generation. It's what he did with money.
Exactly.
Right? Like if you're a great running back and that's all you are, your family's not going to get fed because you're fast.
Nope.
Right?
And you won't have a legacy that way either. Like you will, but eventually there'll be a better running back.
Right. And his legacy is now forever, which is huge. It's huge. So that's awesome. And it sounds like you guys are doing awesome with that, the finance space. You guys are changing a lot of lives. And just so people know, what rank did Mike leave the military? Mike left as a warrant officer as well, right?
Yes, he was a W-2.
Okay, cool. So Mike is a badass, so that's great. So what are now, besides helping a lot of people, what are your goals and dreams? And maybe some of them you alone and some with you and Mike.
So my number one dream, well, I have a top 5. They rotate, but they're always in my top 5. Right now, my number one dream would be to have a private tutor for my kids.
Okay.
Texas is a red state. Okay, it's very red, and that could be good for some things, and it could be interesting for other things. And it's not really the South, but it is the South. So as an African American family growing up in Texas, I would love to be able to control the narrative for what my kids learn. Like Texas is not a critical race theory state, right?
Right.
But I believe that's important, not to like shame anyone, but to show the goods and the bads of your history. Like how else can you learn if you don't reflect on the bad, things like that. So I'll go for it.
So with that, do you think, so while the lack of critical race theory in the educational system is a problem, you still you want to be able to control how it is given to your kids?
Yes. I don't think you should omit that,
Okay.
But at the same time, you don't have to glorify it as much either. You know what I'm saying?
That's huge.
It needs to be balanced, like
Right.
you can't dramatize it like a reenactment, like because it is
Or victimize on that.
Yes. You have to. I'm telling you, balance is so important in everything that we do. And so I would love to be able to give my kids a fuller picture. I would love for them to have like a teacher that actually cares about them and their development. And I would love for them to be able to learn financial principles and concepts beyond just me and my husband teaching them, but to hear from somebody else. So that's my number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important what you said at the end, that there's a closeness effect. I failed at that miserably. I could not convince my ex-wife to be financially savvy because we're too close. So the same thing I see it a lot of times with fathers and kids. Well, you're highly influential. It's when they hear from somewhere else that it sticks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, I just said that. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
what are your other? Exactly. Yeah. What are your other dreams? And at least the other top two.
Well, a flat stomach.
Okay. Huge. I'm a fan. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that's so shallow. However, okay. However, I believe that to be holistically healthy, not only do I need to have have mental health, emotional health, but I think physical health is very important, right?
Yeah.
To be physically healthy for other people, like you don't have to have a flat stomach to be physically healthy, but I would love to have a flat stomach.
I'm a fan.
Like before I had kids, I would love to snap back to that. So,
and I want to highlight that because people negate the financial effect of what you're saying.
Oh, yes.
So just two-part, right? In order to have that level of fitness, you need to commit more time to it, which means something's got to give.
Yes.
But if you have enough money, then now you have the money to, let's say, somebody's tutoring your kids. Now that 1 hour is now you working out.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
People don't correlate the financial aspects to all our dreams. And then there's the secondary effect that if you're healthier, you probably perform better, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
I really try to highlight the financial component to any dream, even though it may not be financial.
Yes. And like you said, like I think too, Mike and I have, and I'll share a third dream. It's like a big dream to not necessarily like we're seeking out platforms, but we have had dreams like given to us of being on a big platform and just teaching people, things about maybe financial, whatever it is. And the only way that we can fully pursue that is if we're financially set to be able to, one, afford that private tutor, because in Texas, kids can only miss 5 days of school out the whole year. What if we're traveling all the time? Well, I don't need my kids to be missing out on school, but at the same time, I know they need an education. So guess what? I need you to travel with me, private tutor. And then two, I need to be physically fit to be able to have the energy to travel, have the energy to speak on a platform like that, because you don't see 100-year-old fat people. And if you do, they are wishing that they were in glory and not here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Miserable, yeah.
So it all ties into financial freedom. Yeah.
Totally. Financial freedom and independence. Yeah, that's what we're doing this, right? Financial freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I improve my house.
That's a good one, right? So that people can keep thinking that Mike is just a pro athlete, right?
Yeah, exactly. I love that because it's a great conversation starter.
Yeah.
It's a great paradigm breaker. Yeah.
Mike looks fit enough that people think he's an athlete.
Yes, bro. Every time we go to a Texans game, they always like, "Oh, who'd you play for?" And he's like, "Nobody."
The Army?
It's always funny to us.
That's awesome. So, with the financial goals and dreams, what effect do you guys want to have in the world? What is the legacy beyond your family that you guys want to have? If any.
You're asking things that are close to my heart, to both of our heart.
Good.
Like, Mike says it like this. I know you said beyond our family, but it actually is for our family. We want our ceiling to be the floor for our children. So you get that?
Whoa.
Right?
Wow.
And in doing that, we want to enable other people to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So like if I can become extremely financially educated and not just like intellectually, but actually be able to apply, I'm going to say financially wise, because knowledge is knowing something, but wisdom is application of knowledge. And so if I can increase my financial wisdom and pass it on to my kids, then everything that Mike and I accomplish in life will become their launching pad, right? But it's my ceiling, you know what I mean? And if Mike and I can teach other people how to do that for their families, then you talk about like the ultimate satisfaction, because now not only have I taught you, how to prepare the fish, but I taught you how to be a fisherman. I taught you how to catch it. I taught you how to clean it. And then you were so self-sufficient that you could actually teach somebody else. And so that's really what it is for us to be able to impact literally 100 million families like that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I'll say, going back to people that look and sound like ourselves and that impact, I invited Mike to a meeting I had with a young black guy from Atlanta.
Nice.
And I remember I was there and I'm talking, this kid and I are connecting. And then Mike comes on and I was like, this is totally different. I could have never done that.
Nice.
And now this kid is so hungry. He's like, I want to change Atlanta. And I'm like, go get it, buddy.
That's
go
dope.
get it.
And that's one of the things I love about, what we do together as business partners, but like also friends, is that, we can always, is that my friend? Your dog.
Oh yeah, he's right here. He's the little buddy. He's over here.
Him. Okay, I'm back. Cause he's so cute. Is that we can pull on each other when we need to, cause there's just something.
Yeah, totally.
Cause the connection is genuine.
It's very special. So I know you're getting started with your guys are doing great in business. But if somebody wanted to find you, to reach out, to connect with you, besides me connecting you to them, do you have a social media platform? Do you have any way that they could find you?
Oh, I do have my personal, okay, I shouldn't say this, but it's true. I am on the gram, maybe too much.
Good. Good.
Usually I'm posting travel stuff or just.
Perfect. That's it.
So I am on Instagram.
So what I'll do is perfect. So I'll add your profile so people can come and find you, because I know somebody's going to connect with you and they can reach out to you directly, I'm sure. Any final words that you would want somebody that looks up to you, your family, your friends, any final words on that?
Yes. I like to say this whenever it comes to mind. I would say, when it comes to financial independence, financial freedom, or just trying to dip your toes into financial education, it's scary. It's scary. Yeah. It's different from what our parents taught us. It's different from what we know. It's uncomfortable, but do it afraid. Courage is not doing something in the absence of fear. It's doing something in the presence of fear. Like, although this is uncomfortable and super scary, like, I don't know what to do, just do it afraid. And as you do it, you'll realize that fear is false evidence appearing real. It's not even real. Like, do it afraid and get out of your way. And you'll be so glad you did.
That's huge. That's huge. And I'm glad you said that, because I've been on a theme the last few weeks that service members think that getting wealthy is hard.
No.
And because they're scared. And I'm like, guys, girls, we've literally done harder stuff. Mm-hmm. The stuff that we've done in conflict, the day in and day out in the field, dealing with, good and bad sergeant majors, bad officers, it's way harder. Way harder. So if you just deal through the courage and you accept that finance is just another battlefield,
Yes.
you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
And I
do
really
it
try to
free.
encourage them, just take into it, do it afraid, just like, we've taken every other challenge in some sort of fear and we've overcome it. So that's awesome. That is so awesome. This is great. Thank you so much for your time.
It is. Thank you for having me. Maybe I got another second thing. Thank you for the opportunity.
Please.
Like, I think
Yeah.
you're great, Jaime. And I just like,
Thank you.
I don't know. I just thank you for the opportunity, because sometimes I think as a woman, like you said, I am a wife, I am a mom. I do work too. Sometimes
And a
it's easy
badass,
to-
I'll say.
Oh, thank you. Sometimes it's easy to get caught in the title of being a mom and a wife. So I thank you for this opportunity for me to remember who I am. So
For sure.
And I love you.
No, I love you. This is awesome. And I can't wait to see you guys again. I need to go to Houston. Never been.
oh my God, you can totally
so-
tell me we got an extra room.
Perfect. I'm taking it. So I'll talk to you soon. And thanks again for your time. This podcast is not financial advice, and it only represents the opinions of those participating. Our goal is to get you to your version of financial independence. Please follow and like on every platform.